Okay, so if we connected that, welcome. So I am Adeline an ex-chartered accountant turned corporate marketer who walked away at the peak of my success when I had everything to lose at 30. I wanted to see who I was without the titles, the accolades, and the prestige, and I did. 7 years as a digital nomad, five living in Bali, creating businesses across different continents, and I would not recommend that, and mastering what I now call my personal MBA. Today, I run a multiple six-figure global business, working about 20 to 30 hours a week, proving that strategy and structure can coexist with freedom and purpose. So, what I really do is I help visionary CEOs and experts breach the capacity to structure gap, turning creative chaos into clarity, lived experience into intellectual property, and purpose into a profitable, sustainable business that lasts. I am that growth strategist that CEO hire when they are done winging it and ready to run business like a company. So, welcome if you're new here and follow CEO Edge, which is my insider scoop for straight talk and strategy on building a future proof, on purpose, and profitable business as a multi passionate CEO. So, there are two core things that I really focus on, and what I'm really great at is number one is how do you turn your corporate expertise into an offer into a business solution. So when I started my business, I had a decade long of corporate experience. And a lot of the principles that I teach inside the potential to paid experience really is how do you actually identify your skills from your resume, and how do you actually assign value to that as a solution? And what I really want to, I think what is really important here and what I'm aiming to really disrupt and really bring forth a level of world-class education um, to the business world, to entrepreneurship world, so that you are able to make strategic decision. And that is more important than ever at a time like this, because when I really dissect back on the past 15 years of my career and having massive change in my personal and professional life, what I realized was my business school training, although I don't remember a lot of them, but it has set a level of foundation in a lot of the decisions that I've made in growing my business, right? And I also realized that my experience in restructuring companies as one of my first full-time job, not considering internship, has actually been so useful in actually restructuring my business, because in an industry, whether it's online business, whether it's coaching business, whether it's creative business, where burning down a business becomes a trend, it becomes a content thing. Like, it took me probably about 4 years to actually connect it all together. And also because I have gone through massive belief system change. I have moved countries, like, because of COVID, because of personal growth, various reasons, and having to rebuild everything from scratch, and also having this knowing and decision and commitment that this is the last time that I'm building this. And because I figured out that I am unemployable pretty early in my career, means that I need to create something sustainable, profitable, on purpose as an entrepreneur. And I went through a phase of really throwing everything that I've learned in my professional career out of the window and see where I go with this. And it got me pretty far. Got me pretty far, but I realized it's not sustainable. And I was trying to rebuild with a lot of I was trying to rebuild in a way that what I learned from a lot of the online teachers. And, that was a big lesson that I had to learn myself because I didn't trust in my experience. And I went through this whole period of really trusting someone else's expertise more than my own track record. And it was a hard lesson to learn. Um, and it's something that I've also noticed in the online business space where there are a lot of teachings that are focused on mindset, and mindset is important, right? Because as someone who has a track record in business, in growing businesses, in corporate setting, I needed those mindset shift to start a business. And it probably is harder at the start of it because you have everything to lose. And this is exactly what I teach and break down into simple steps inside the six-figure revenue roadmap for those of y'all who already have proven expertise, proven experience on what is it that you are like. You already have those track record that you can create value to corporations, businesses, enterprises, which in my opinion, that is what I would recommend someone who, number one, wants to build a profitable business and have the funding to, build and create your creative and purposeful impact. That is the fastest way to make money with integrity, in a real world sense, and it's not all smokes and mirrors. And also, I want to make a very important announcement here that being profitable in business is a responsibility to your calling. Right? Like having a conversation about how much money you want to make in your business. It's the very basis of what a CEO should do. And it really baffles me and fascinates me. I mean, on when I ask people, when I speak to incredible women of like, I want to do all this creative work. And I'm like, how much money do you want to make in this? But I don't really want to make money. And I'm like, really? So you want to spend all this time creating content and you do not want to get paid for it? Like, really? And I think I want to also make it very clear, like, I love what I do. I love creating content. And, this is what I have spent 15 years refining the craft on, actually, like content strategy, like proper content strategy that actually creates value to the world. It's a craft and it's something that you have to keep doing. Like, for example, like if you see a very unique design on a, say like a building, like the craftsmanship that is required to do that, it takes years to build up. And so is content strategy. So it's not something that you can just post something and put it out there and hope that it would work. That may work when internet is at its inception, but that is not a sustainable or even a practical strategy of actually building a business online. Right? And I know it's a very like touchy subject. I don't know what it is that if you like our human mind or how society has conditioned, like there's this layer of programming of if you are on purpose, if spiritual growth is an important part of you, if you are creative, like making money somehow cannot be in the same like line. Like it somehow cannot be in this, like it's like I don't know what it is, because I also went through a moment when I was in my hippie era, I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to, like I just want to impact. Like how are you going to impact without resources? Like you have bills to pay, you have to put food on a table, you need a home to sleep in, unless you have a trust fund that I don't know about. Like these are very real stuff and you can't manifest your way out of that. I feel like someone got to say it. And I feel like this is a question that should be normalized in the world of entrepreneurship. Like, not how much money, like, not what you desire or you want to manifest this X amount of money, but how much money do you want to make through your business? What is your number? What is your take home profit? Profit is not the same as revenue. Basic. And I think it baffles my mind because I came from an accounting background and I just completely ignored that for many years. And I just, it's just a part of who I am, right? Because I went to school for that. But when I look into the state of the industry, and there's a lot of like great content around the industry is collapsing and all of that. And I also want to bring forth some like of my industry experience from like really boring brick and mortar experiences. And I think that the problem, or how I see an opportunities in the market, it's not that, like that's like business has its cycle. It has its peak, it has its low, economy has its own cycle. There's recession, there is, what's the opposite of recession? There's a boom. And there are businesses that do well in recessions and the businesses that go bust in recessions. Right. And it is a simple thing of like, it's like, you just either go bust or you pivot and you just go with where technology is going. What I want to say is AI, internet marketing, creativity, or whatever it is that is happening on the outside is not going to be able to fix a problem of poor company management, poor business management, poor skills of running a business. It is a skill. It is a skill just like communication. Creativity, God-given, right? But God would give you a vision. God would give you something in your heart to share. God would give you a message. How do you actually turn that into something that it's of value to the marketplace, that is of value to people, that is of value to humanity? Skills, skills, skills. God gives you the resource. You got to know how to turn it into something of value. Skills. And guess what's about skills? Skills is something that you can learn. Skills is something that you can put in reps to get better at. And that is one of the biggest revelation that the Lord has showed me since I gave my life to Jesus at the start of 2025. Is He brought back all these memories of me, like in my accounting days. And I'm like, why? And I think this also positions me in a very good place to speak on both sides, because I'm a multi-passionate, I'm creative, and I was very much in the logical world for many years, and so I get the resistance on why it's non-feminine and all of that stuff. But if you want a business that is profitable, that is sustainable 3 to 5 years from now, it's not about whether, like AI, like whether you know what to do with AI, because you can, if you don't learn how to run a company, if you don't learn how to run a business, that is the problem of it. It's not AI, because your business might go bust, your business might go down, or you burn your business down before AI come and take over your job or whatever it is. So I just want to make it very clear. And I think part of what I want to introduce with CEO Edge is to bring a cutting edge, world-class business education that has never been spoken before, because I have been on both sides, multiple sides, right? So I have 10, probably 12 years, including my internship in like billion-dollar enterprises, auditing firm, analyst, restructuring. Like, I was an ex-chartered accountant and I gave up my membership in 2019 just because, well, I never really see myself as an international tax or like financial reporting person. I'm probably the last person, doing that. I'm really great with numbers, like looking at patterns, whether it's in the spirit world, whether it's in financial statements, in businesses. Identifying your leakage and levers is something that I'm just great at, or something that I've cultivated over the years through practices. And I've also been on the other side of like, the bros marketing of like, okay, you're going to do all of this and performance marketing is important. Performance marketing is important because when you want to scale your company, when you want to grow your company, you need to have a at least a bird's eye view of um where, like, what are the like opportunities, because numbers tell a story. Um and numbers, sometimes it's great when you have too much emotion, as a very spiritual and sensitive and intuitive and spirit-led woman. I have also spent some time in that feminine space and manifest. I really don't like that word, like manifesting space, like the feminine flow. I just want to flow and do all things and just be creative and just flow. And I've done that, and I managed to run my business pretty okay for like years because of my professional experience. But I also built something that I absolutely despise, because I built a business that is entirely reliant on me. And I spent a couple of years just not looking at numbers and allowing my subconscious to um, do that for me. Um, I am Asian, and also I'm really good with numbers, so that helps a little bit, but it's not good for my mental health. And praise God, because when I had to rebuild everything, I lost a lot of my documentation. I lost a lot of IP when my laptop was stolen in 2022. Like, there was a whole lot of thing where I lost a lot of my data and I couldn't like retrieve that. But thank God I had that 10 years of foundation of really doing that. And I really believe that that is what is important. And that's what really where I'll be focusing on helping CEOs like yourself going forward. Because what I've seen is, something that I noticed through conversations in my inbox, especially women who are in the intuitive space, the creative visionary space. Like, I put it out there, I'm very sensitive. I have really big emotions. And one of the things that I had to learn after going from like super hyper logical all the way to the other side of like, I just want to flow. And I lived in Bali for 5 years. So go figure, right? I have lived the full spectrum. And also, I think that we need to have this honest conversation of, is this a really nervous system problem, or is it just a lack of structure problem? Like, really? Because, when I was in that kind of feminine embodiment space for a while, and, we could do the breath work, we could do the nervous system, whatever work, and there is a time and space for that. But also, I feel like that has become this weird spiral thing. And it wasn't until I gave my life to Jesus that I realized, why do I keep healing on this thing when there is a clean cut? Right. And I think the point here that I really want to make is that most visionary women in business does not have a motivational problem. It's not even like, it's not even a misalignment problem or an intuition that is broken problem. What is broken is the infrastructure in your business. What is broken is your nervous system could be very healthy, but you do not have the system to hold the vision, to hold the thing that you want to bring forth to the world. Right? You are purely running on brand, creativity, aliveness, willpower, the things that gets you attention, traction, and revenue even. And you can probably build $1 million business on that. But you are not going to be very happy in the long run. You are going to be burnt out. And on a soul and spirit level, I can almost guarantee that there is something that is not in alignment there. What really requires what you really require to sustain $1 million enterprise is structure, strategy, and systems. And it is the last thing that you want to hear if you are very creative, very flowy, and God forbid during those years, man, when I look back and I'm just like, oh dear Lord, is so one of the insecurities I've had as a powerful woman, as someone who's great with business, was what if I come across as too strong and too much? So I went through a season where I was just like really dimming down my like business acumen. And then I tried to like magnetize and do all the things, right? Like it's just, guys, like some of the things I've done, it's beyond comprehension. Beyond comprehension. But you know what? This is why I do what I do. And this is why, you know, I create videos to bring awareness to you. I have programs, I have ways to work with me, especially private, because I believe that to really bring forth your strategic vision and to build a foundation, the foundational work has to be intimate. It has to be high touch. If you want to get results, if you want to build the foundation, if you want to get the laser focused, it's just something that I've tried and tested for myself, and I realized, and you know, I work with mentors and stuff, and it's just not it. It's just not it. So we have the bros marketing, we have this like the magnetism, and then we have on the other side is like old school corporate and you know, like boring business stuff. And what I've noticed is a lot of this new world, future proof, whatever you want to call that, like the new way of doing business is great for disruptions. But when you do not have the expertise, the technical expertise, and you just focus on innovation of new way of doing things, there is no route to sustain it. And why dinosaurs companies are acquiring companies, why they are able to do that, and why they continue on, you know, legacy companies, is because they have solid foundation, and solid foundation usually are not very sexy. Are not very sexy. But my intention here for you is not just to have a business for a good time, but for a long time. Like AI is a big thing in the, like, you know, it, like we are as collective, like AI is a part of our day to day. But I also believe that we are very adaptable, because when I think about 2000, I don't know how many of y'all are millennials, that you're in 2000 where everyone thought the internet is going to blow up the entire world. 25 years later, we still are. And I think it's not really blows up the entire world, but it actually changes the course of where we're heading where we're heading collectively as a collective. I don't know why the word human. Like, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So AI is a big part of that, but you know, just trying to like get on the AI train and not learning how to run your business, or actually having a strategic visioning of like, where am I taking my business? Like actually learning business skills, making more money. Like it's not going, like you're gonna making money and stewarding money, two different skills. Also another lesson that I had to learn. So back to what I was saying. So back, you know, the capacity to structure gap is without structure, strategy, and systems. And let's have this conversation once and for all, that strategy, structure, and system, it's not like this taboo word in the world of feminine, or like it doesn't take your womanhood away. God made you a woman. That is not going to change, right? So strategy is not going to make you like, that's a whole lot of rubbish there. Like it came from good intention, but then like the extreme that it has been taken, like it's just ridiculous. Like if you, yeah, when I did some reflection of like, oh my God, the fact that we just like, I don't know how many of y'all here, you know, you either go like, what is she on about? Or you're like, oh my God, that was me. Where you buy into this thing like, oh my God, money is like a lover that I need to like, there's all these weird things. And then there's the other part of like, oh, you know, like, I mean, I wrote a whole poetry about that, about how you meant to run business. So I did that, right? And there's a part of like, oh, business is this and that, of like these different archetypes of business. If that is for your brand and content, great. In the back end of your system, profit, loss, revenue, where you want to take your business, what is your offer, how does the structure look like, how are you trying, what are the core intellectual property that you have? What is that core thing that you speak about in your business? What is your unique proposition? My unique proposition is that I am great with story. I can help extract your unique story. Strategic visioning, ex-chartered accountant. But also I'm very tapped in supernaturally, right? Pentecostal Christian here. So I have these three very unique essence that in the way that I talk about business growth, in the way that I talk about leadership, in the way that I talk about financial stewardship, in the way that I talk about how I use about AI, no one else can replicate that. So that is a very strategic question. And it took about 18 months to really like extract that and rebuild the entire thing. And if this is you, that you need help in turning your creative chaos into clarity, your lived experience into intellectual property, and all of this into your purpose into a profitable and sustainable business. I'm currently taking applications for my one-on-one private mentorships, so you can apply that via the link below. And if, like what I mentioned before, if you haven't actually asked yourself honestly of like how much money you want to make, how do you want to run your business, like take time to think about that. Avoiding that question is not going to solve the problem. Don't try and go figure out what AI you need to learn, what ChatGPT prompt you need to learn, when the simple question is right there. It's like how much money you want to make in your business. Maybe it's 100 grand a year. Great. How many hours do you want to work a week? 20 hours a week. Great. Do you need to build that? Do you really need to build that funnel if that's your goal? For me, I want to build an 8-figure business and I want my business to last a long time. And I know that I have a lot of things to say. I have a lot of things to teach. Like what I mentioned at the start of this, like content strategy or like just the content part is what I'm here to do. So I know what my assignment is and I can see it in 10 years. That's why I'm like, all right, I'm going to like actually learn the mechanics of funnels. But for most of y'all, like, I don't know how many of you need to hear this. It could be a deep exhale. It could be something that makes you realize, oh my God, what is it? You don't need to create content. Not everyone needs to create content. Like, really be honest with yourself. Like, do you actually enjoy creating content? And, you know, if you have expertise, there are so many ways that you can get clients, get paid really well as a business owner. And you can hire someone else to do the things that you don't want to do. Unfortunately for me, I can't really outsource a lot of that because what my unique proposition, what my intellectual property is my voice. And for those of y'all who, if that's you too and you don't know how to work around that, one-on-one private mentorship, put it down, like, apply via the link down below. This is not meant to be a scalable offer because, like, it's not meant for everyone. And if you are unclear of what that is for you, go figure it out. Like, really, like, take pause and ask yourself that question. Ask yourself that question because you might end up building a business that you don't even want to run. And this is the problem that I see have been existing in the industry, like just in the online world as a whole, because you have a few very OG people that kickstarted the industry and they've created all these rules by breaking the rules of the traditional business. And then they've created all these new belief system that has just been like Chinese whisper and just passing down one to the other. And I think a lot of us see a certain level of success through that, but it's not working anymore because number one, it might not even be your calling. Number two, you are building off someone else's success blueprint. Number three is you never have that foundational understanding of whatever topic, whatever niche, whatever area of expertise that you are speaking about. So it's just like, you know, like, so it's just like you're just picking on here and there and it works to a certain extent and gets shaky because the true essence of who you are, because who God has made you to be, and the very one craft. I don't know what that is for you. For me, oh man, when I first realized mine is accounting and business, and I was like, really? I thought I was, I have, if you know me personally, you know that I have an interesting, like, so many things that I could talk about. But Lord, really? Like business, finance, like, really? Yes, it is. And now I know exactly how, like, why I'm here to, like, really bring it back to the very core of, like, business 101. That is not like dinosaurs boring thing, but there are like, you need, it's like a painter. A painter, you need to know like the basic design stuff, and then you can go and, like, you can go to town with that, right? Without the strong technical skills and the reps you have in your chosen field, you have nothing to back that up. You need to have the mastery of the rules before you can creatively break them in the name of innovation. Like, let that sink for a while. You need to put in the reps of something. You need the mastery before you can innovate. Otherwise, what are you innovating on? That's why when you see startups that really take off and startups that really create change, and, like, tech companies that really make it, is they would have worked in a particular area in a business, and they see there's an example that I can think of is, I know these two founders that just built this entire AI workflow for supplier to, like, for like big um like corporations. So it's kind of like Walmart in the States, like Woolies or Coles in Australia, like something to do with their distribution process because of what they see in COVID. And they were like in that distribution operations team inside of that business. And then from that, they are able to create like an AI product that is really specific to that, because that was their field of interest or their field of expertise. And now they can innovate from the dinosaurs. And another example that I can think of is this other business that I'm aware of, like this AI business that is taking off, is actually having like this AI person or AI like agent that can talk to employees about sexual harassment and bully in workplaces. That was because she was HR in companies. And for me, I think for me, I like, now that I realize is that I had always been creative, and what my strength lies is I think creatively, but also I understand numbers. And so that gives me a very strong position as a consultant, as an advisor, is that I'm able to overlook the entire function of a business. And I was a general manager of a company before. So unless you are going for like CEO level or like the executive level of like understanding the business, there is to really be, to start off with turning your expertise into a profitable business, find a function within a business: sales, marketing, offer, product development, finance, operation, HR. Right? It's a choice. It's a choice. But back to what I was saying is, when you like, how do I reframe this? So without that foundation, okay, I'm going to give a more like a deeper explanation on where I was. So I had to take a break from sharing a lot of like the spiritual side of things, especially during my transition from New Age to Jesus. And I have an entire transition testimony series during that transition because it was a part of what I needed to walk through. And I realized I had to take a step back, even though I have a lot of knowledge because of my experience. I have zero foundation. Like, I didn't grow up at church. I didn't read the Bible. Like, I spent the last year like inhaling the entire Bible because of all the different things that I've opened up. I've opened doors to, through psychedelics and plant medicine. But my foundation is not like someone who grew up in church that they might be backsliding or whatever, but they have grew up with Bible. So they have that solid foundation. And right now it's just not my pay grade to do that. And I need to be humble. Like, and I'm like, all right, like I have to take a step back. There's a time and space. Like, yes, there is time and space where I can, God can equip me in that. But there is a time for everything. There is a time for everything. And so, you know, this is why I have this observation around the burning down trend in the online space, whether as a YouTube creator, whether it's a coaching, creative service, or even a spiritual business, and many of which, you make pretty solid money of like 6 to 7 figures. It is because it was built on innovation that has no foundation and or solid business skills in running a business. It has a strong brand. Most creators have a strong brand to take off something to get attention, but there is no structure to sustain. And it might be very exciting at first to know that, wow, I can put something out there and I can garner attention. And later you realize either you have to sell your soul and you have to talk about stuff that you really don't want to talk about to sustain that like attention, or you're in this like this hamster wheel that you don't have a long-term vision. You can't actually see the actual impact of this. And when you're constantly putting out fire, you can't actually think long-term of where this is going to go. And obviously none of us really know where it's going, but you need to have a basis of where this is taking you. Like, what is the impact? Like, how do you actually want to disrupt the industry? Like, for me right now, it's like I want to bring forth like world-class business education in the entrepreneurship space. And that has been something that was placed in me probably about 3 years ago, and I never quite understood it. I thought I was going to bring this whole new paradigm way of doing business of like what everyone else, like a lot of the feminine teachers are teaching, and I try to do it and I'm like, why can I not do it? And I'm like, oh my God, that is not like that is the best way for most people because they have no experience in business. And I can't, do it because I knew that is not how you run a business. I don't know how many of y'all have gotten this as an advice of, oh, when it comes to pricing, when it comes to business, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to content, the advice that you get is just follow your heart, just do what feels good to you. Oh, just like, what if you do, when someone goes, I don't know what to do. And the teacher, like the coach or the mentor would be like, just do what feels good to you. What if you do know about this? How would you take action? And what else? Like, oh, right. Like just price intuitively what feels good and what feels right at this moment. I made a list of different things. And if you are a woman, just a normal woman, the answer to that question not just differs daily, it might differs hourly because that is just our design. I mean, now I'm pretty regulated and pretty stable and pretty like anchored. So maybe it has less like variables to that. But that thing would have changed every hour. It's impossible for you to run business that way. And I want you to know that there is nothing wrong with you if you can't quite figure it out. And I think a lot of these teachers, it's because it has become a part of who they are. They know how to price intuitively because they have learned pricing strategies. They have priced over 100 different things and they know what works and what doesn't. That comes from expertise and experience. And that is not a great way of educating people how to run a business because if, for example, someone like you, your domain of expertise is in relationship, it's in health. That's why you want to learn how to run a business, on how to price your service and what feels good for you. If you have some imposter syndrome, if you have all these different things, your pricing strategy is not going to reflect the value and the transformation that you are going to bring to your clients. Period. And it's not something that you need to go through mindset, healing, nervous system. Sometimes it's a very logical, practical thing that you can do. And this is what I really want to like end this whole like I really hope that this has really bring forth a clarity to where you are in your business and get really honest with yourself of, are you burning, like, do you want to build your fifth business? Because you've tried different things and you might just be completely sick of like you just physically cannot build something to burn it down again. And that's me and that's why like I had to go through this year really like, man, this is, I did not mean for this to be a whole preaching thing, but really like God is good, because like Jesus restored so much of my mind, so much order in my mind, even with a lot of my lost like IP from like my businesses, like when I, a lot of like the things that I used to run my business before I moved to Bali, a lot of things, right? Like I have obviously let it back, but a lot of them, God has restored that. And this is also why when you have a solid foundation, it cannot be stolen. Your expertise cannot be taken away. And that is also what will separate you from like just everyone else when it comes to AI. People will be like, oh, you need to learn prompt engineering, you got to learn all of this. But if you have a foundational understanding of a particular topic, of a particular subject, the questions you ask is different. And I really noticed a difference of my conversation with ChatGPT from pre-Holy Spirit to post-Holy Spirit. One thing I make very clear is that I know ChatGPT will never replace my relationship with Holy Spirit. So I would always make sure to have that first before I use ChatGPT. And as I really get back into more strategic thinking, as I really get back more into the business side of things, the questions I ask, when I have more conversational stuff and knowing what questions to ask and setting the context, it's a whole different beast. So really, like for you, like having that foundational understanding in whatever domain you are called to be, it's extremely important. So don't feel like you are behind. Don't feel like you are not like like that's something that I feel a lot, and I'm still working on it, is that I'm not where I want to be because I was comparing to someone that like is 50,000 steps ahead of me, and then I was trying to do what they do instead of actually learning the skills of like building the blocks and actually knowing what are the bricks that I needed to lay. And I think this is why I also want to really it's really hard for me to like distill it to like simple business terms, because like my brain just works differently, but that's what the market needs. Like we overcomplicate business. And when you add ChatGPT to the mix, when you're confused and you talk to ChatGPT, that's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for psychosis. When you approach ChatGPT with a clear mind, a sound mind, knowing exactly why you are using ChatGPT, different. So you gotta remember that you are still in control of the experience, that you have control over that, and you have a responsibility on how you choose to use that tool. Like for my believers, God gave you dominion over creation, and AI is another creation. So really, you have dominion over that thing. So don't let that thing has dominion over you and take your authority back. Can I get an amen for that? So really, to end this is, like if you have built different things, they might even be successful to a world, like, to most people, but you find yourself burning things down after 2 years, start something new, got excited, and then after a while, it doesn't feel like a vibe anymore. And there is a time and space for that, especially at the start of your journey, to figure out, to kind of find your feet, to kind of find, like, what is it for you, right? Because you do need that curiosity to figure it out. But there's also a point in your business journey as an entrepreneur that you really have to be honest with yourself and give yourself the ultimatum of, like, I need to make this work in a long run. Like, I can't just ghost my business. I can't just burn it down. And I think that the conversations that I had with people in my DMs are like, I don't even know what the change is, but all I know is I want confidence in where I'm heading to with my business, that I'm not just going to wake up and quit again. Or I'm not just going to, like, that I can't just burn something down and rebuild something new again. And there are three parts that are really important in this. So the first part is obviously to audit every part of your business and what you're currently doing, and also your mental health, your mental space. Like, what are you doing right now? Because like, you can't have a clear view if you don't know where you are right now. And one of the things that I also really want to bring, like, to highlight to you is, if you have gone through like failures, valleys, just things that are just not going very well, your rock bottom, your valley is not the baseline of where you left off. So I'm going to say it again. So, you might have achieved a lot of different things up until here. This is where you started and this is where you are. But then at the same time, you have, like, dropped all the way down here. You are not starting from here. Like, you're not starting from here. You are starting from where you left off here. But do you notice the gap from here to here and here to here? It's quite significant, and it takes a while to recalibrate. It takes a while for you to really realize where your baseline is, and not allow your past and not allowing your failure to dictate where you get to go. And you are not starting from here. There are experiences, there are lessons, there are things that maybe you might not be right where you left off, but there is, like, somewhere around here and your baseline, whether it's in your expertise, whether it's in your nervous system, whether it's in, mental state, business, whatever it is. Like, there is a line, and you need to, like, audit and find what that baseline is for you. And that baseline also means it needs to, like, snap you out of the survival, that fight or flight, that part of you that feels like you need to put out fire like 24/7. So that's the first phase. And the second phase is to extract the lived experience to really, so the first part is, like, audit where you are, like your current state. And then the second part is, it's like a dance of your journey so far. Like, what is your unique story? What is the path that you have walked so far? And what are, like, your golden nuggets? What are the things that you are anointed to say? And then there's also this fresh vision. There's this, like, new thing that usually is a combination of different things, but you got to get very clear on, what is this new, what is the true message that is true to you right in this moment? And as humans, especially as women, we go through different stages of transition. Some of y'all might, be single again. Some of you might be, what, like, you're in the season of being a wife, or you're into motherhood, or you're in separation. Like, there are so many different seasons in our lives, and those seasons change us, right? It change who we are, and that also changes, like, our business, right? Like, how, where we show up, how we show up, and how it gets to integrate. And right now, where I am in this era of mine is, like, a combination of all the different versions of myself integrating into who I am now, into the woman that I am now. And and this is something that I always say to clients and to friends, is you're not the same woman as you were before. And I actually have an audio experience, it's a 14 days audio experience that helps you, shift your state of being and have basically like activations that get you out of like the state of like you're not the same woman as you were yesterday. So how would you like, what needs to change? Because you can't expect to have different results if you're doing the same things, right? So those are things that you need to keep asking yourself and really be open to receiving like revelations. Because when you're in that state of when you're in that state of like fight or flight for so long, or you feel safe in saving people that need, like, this is like savior mentality that a lot of us have as women. And praise the Lord that now I'm not trying to be Jesus. God has a specific son to do the job of saving the world. So that takes it off me, right? And really allowing your nervous system to like have a deep exhale. And for me, a big part of that was like entrepreneurship. First of all, entrepreneurship. If you are in entrepreneurship, like, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for a faint-hearted. It requires a level of mental resilience that no every other career requires. So entrepreneur, digital nomad, a lot of personal and family stuff that I had to deal with, and personal healing. And then I did plant medicine and psychedelic and all of that stuff. Like, it's not a good mix. It's probably not a very smart thing to do. Made a lot of great decisions, made a lot of dumb decisions too, but it is what it is. Like, I take responsibilities for them. So my nervous system was fried. And I was trying to like fight my way out of it, and there's no way out of it. So I also want to make it clear, like, there is a time and space for like full restoration and just doing nothing. And for me, it was like probably about 8 months of my walk with Jesus to really like, my nervous system and dopamine system was fried. And then there is a time where I realized my business has no structure. My business, like I just rebelled against spreadsheets, and I'm like a gun in spreadsheets, right? I'm a gun in spreadsheets. So if you're my private clients, like if you need to build like stuff from spreadsheets, like that's part of the things that I can create for you, can help you with. And then I realized, okay, now that my nervous system is stable, but I don't have the system and the structure to hold this big vision that the Lord has put in me. Right. So when I said that part 2 is when you extract your lived experience, when you see, okay, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to create. Second layer of this, if you haven't worked on your money mindset and your perspective on more money does not always equals more work, or being able to create value where you don't get paid for your time, then there's going to be a wrestle of, okay, I have this vision. But then in your head, it's like, all right, to get to that vision, I would have to work like, 200 hours a week, which is impossible, like humanly impossible. And so you're stuck in freeze mode. That's why you need systems. That's why you need the strategic vision of whether you can hire people. And don't make the mistake that I made where I was avoiding making decisions on my own. I was hoping that the people that I hire could figure it out, which obviously not. And I think that comes with a personal brand business. This comes with a business where you are the unique selling point, that you have such a unique lived experience, you have a unique story, your intellectual property. On the other side, like on the other side, like the upside is unlimited. The money, the impact you can make, it's unlimited. But also the work, the groundwork, the foundation, the reps that you have to put in is solid, because you can't outsource your voice. You can't outsource anything until you have the SOPs. You can't outsource it until you have a workflow, until you have it figured out yourself, and then you can have someone else help you because you are literally the business. And this is why it's so important to separate yourself from the business, to run your business like a company, but at the same time, you have to be very clear on that. You have to be very clear on that. And that's what I do with my 90-day CEO reset with my clients. We do the audit first, like what is it now? And then the second part is like, let's go deep and see what's the full story, where we're going. It's almost like we're collapsing timeline of past, present, and future into the now of what that is look like. And then the third part is you aligned your calling, you align the who that you are now called to serve with business growth. And the third part is very strategic. It's very data driven. It's very like business thing. And you need all three of that to kind of bring it all into something that is profitable, something that is sustainable, and it's on purpose, right? Because we don't want to sacrifice profit for purpose or sacrifice purpose for profit. And I really want this to land for some of you that purpose and profit can both coexist, and being profitable is a responsibility to your calling, because you can't do the work that God has placed in your heart if you are worrying whether you can put food on a table. Like, it just doesn't. And God does, like, it was never part of his plan for you to do it that way. And it's conditioning. There's different things. And that is also an invitation to look into that. Because and at the end of that, if you really just want to have fun doing it, then you would just go and do it. There's not many, like, if I'm not getting paid and like, if I don't need to think about whether I want to make money or not, like, I would just do the thing, right? That's how I figure out what I like. It's like, I'm just going to do the thing. So that is something to think about. And yeah, that is your first step on getting a clear direction of where you want to head. So there are a couple of things that I mentioned in this video. One of them is, for those of y'all who wants to, who are thinking of working one-on-one, this is for established business owner. 3 months is 10K investment, or 3.5 grand per month on payment plan. So it's not for everyone. It's not meant for everyone. And otherwise, if you need, like, those 2 questions that I've shared, go and really take time to ask yourself and get clarity from that first. Second one is, if you are a visionary in transition, you're kind of in that wilderness, in that valley, and you're wondering how to even get back to baseline. I have a 14-day power, like, audio experience, and it's only $55. There's 14 days, 15 to 20 minutes max, and it really is something that shifts you out of state of being. And if you are a corporate multi-passionate expert, that you have years of experience and you're looking into growing your service-based business and you're wondering, like, how do I even start? Number one, simple. The number one thing to do is first to identify what are the skills that you have had, what are your expertise from those years. I'm not saying you're going to list down what you do. It's not a resume. It's not a job title. But what those skills are, and how are they transferable into other businesses, other industry, other niches, and also how do they get to create value as a business solution. So that is I put all of these together into what my 100K value playbook. That is the best thing that I've ever created, and it's free. This playbook has helped me to land 20K pay rise when I was still in corporate accounting before I moved to corporate marketing. I have also used this to build multiple 6-figure consulting businesses, and also monetize my unique expertise through my personal brand. This is the foundation that I come back to at every level of growth to refine my positioning, pricing, and power as a CEO. So even when I decide to make this shift of really focusing on high-level strategy and like really helping established business owners grow the business and have strategic visioning and asking those questions and forward-looking, it is because I was creating this product. I was like putting it all together and refining this product. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a really, I haven't seen anyone teach that on how do you actually understand what skills you have that is transferable across different industry. Because I think now we don't need like big statement that is bold and revolutionary, like you are the niche. But I mean, I know like like God created all of us as unique, but what does that mean in the business sense? And this is going to be a different conversation because it's been a while. It's been a good episode. Is I can do a lot of things, and that's given as an entrepreneur, as someone with a creative business, because like I said before, you need to figure it out in a way that you do it. You have to figure it out in a way that works for you. But when it comes to positioning, there needs to be a certain level of specific things that make you unique. There's this positioning that's required. And just going like, I'm special and I'm unique just doesn't work anymore. You need to be able to articulate and communicate that. And this 100K value playbook is the first step. Okay. Baby step. You can't run when you don't even know how to crawl. First step is to know what skills you have, what experience you have, and how is that going to be transferable. Because if your skills is not transferable, then sorry, man. Like, then you're kind of like in that way. But why I say this is the best thing I've created, because when I was a chartered accountant, people were telling me it's impossible, that my career path is pretty set on, to a certain extent, I was going to climb that path. That's why I took my chartered accountant, like the postgrad. Like, who would take postgrad on like business law and tax and auditing? Come on. Right? And people told me you have to like stay within that. And I'm like, no, I don't, no. And so through this practice, through the steps that I've laid down in 100K value playbook, allow me to move to corporate marketing and have a 20K pay rise, because I knew how to extract my skills that are transferable to a different industry. And I'm able to communicate how my skills and my experience is able to help grow their business. That's marketing, that is sales, that is positioning. And first step is knowing and identifying what those skills are, and not say that, oh, I was an analyst, I was this, a job title, whatever, right? So get that. All the links are going to be down below, and I would love to know what stood out for you. Some might be triggering. Some might be like, oh God, I really need to make a change, or I really need to like put on my big girl pants. Whatever it is, I would love to know what is that one big shift that you've gotten out of today's episode. Leave them down in the comments below, or if you want to send me a DM on Instagram, or if you want to screenshot, share it with people, or you think that someone, your business bestie, might get something out of this because it's something that y'all have been like debating for a while, you can send them this video, because, well, we need to make great content again, and make great content available to most people, and to help people think better. Because one of why I'm so passionate and I'm so like on track on continue putting on content out there and help amplify powerful voices is because we need deep, valuable content like mine, so that people can think, so that it challenges people to think differently and not relying completely on ChatGPT and just become dumber and dumber and dumber. We do not need that in our collective. So that's you. You have a responsibility to do that. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.